Hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be about trying to fix the turret landing gears. When I got mine, one actually came broken, so every once in a while one leg would come down and sometimes it just wouldn't. Now they're both messed up, and a quick way to test it is just connecting it directly to the receiver itself, then powering just the receiver, and that'll rule out any other issues or whatever. So just plug it in and just give it a quick test to see if it works. Right now I'm using it on the CX20 on the gimbal ports. So when I turn these, they should move. And nothing's happening. So what I'm going to do now is just open it up and show you guys how to fix it. So what you'll need is a hex or whatever, a 1.5. Or just do what I do, is just keep trying it until it fits. You just have to take off these 4 screws on the bottom, or just 2 of them, it's up to you. Alright, so I'm just going to open it up. You need a star screwdriver. That doesn't want to come out. And out of these screws there's one shorter, and that one goes on that guy there. You also need a multimeter if you want to test the wires. So carefully spread these guys apart. Careful, depending on what version you have, you might have more with more gears and stuff in it. So just be careful when you're opening it. What you can do too is try holding these wires down. And then lift this part up. Alright, so here's the board here. And there's a gear right there, stuck in there. And then this guy. So what we'll want to do first is confirm that these 2 buttons work. So I'm just going to let that out. You should hear a click. On that side. And a click here. Okay, it's good. Next is find a pin and see if you can lift one of these sides up. What usually happens is, where is it? Let's see if I can take this apart. On this metal guy here, there's a little piece sticking out like that, and this thing goes back and forth like that when the motor turns, and what happens is it goes too far and it knocks this switch right off the solder. So what you need to do is solder these 2 pads back on, and everything should be good to go. As long as this button works and this button works and it wasn't stuck on, it should be fine. Otherwise you might have to stick a pin inside this hole here and just play around with the button until you free the button again, and then it should be good. So after you do that, confirm that you have continuity for these buttons here. It's good. 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 So it's nothing to do with the wires. So I'm just going to turn on my soldering gun and I'm going to resolder this because this guy here is off the trace. So I'm just going to resolder it. Sometimes it's way more drastic than that too. It's actually bent and it's shorted out here. It's probably good just to push down. Don't push down too hard because you might get that button stuck. You might need to put new solder there as well. And if it actually ripped the trace off, what you're gonna have to do is scrape the board on the top, find some new copper, and then you don't have that much on the bottom here, but you're gonna have to do the same thing. You're gonna have to scratch just a little bit here, and then get some new copper. Alright, so we're gonna test it to see if that worked. Most likely it did, because I've had this issue before with this one. I'll plug this guy back in here. Oops. Right, hold the motor down when you're going to test it like this, because it's going to go crazy on you if it does work. Let's see, put the meter. There we go, fixed it. So that was a cheap little fix and just saved a couple of bucks by doing that really quickly. Right, good stuff. Now I gotta somehow unplug this. Perfect. Alright, so I'll just put it back together. Oops. You might have a problem putting it back together because I have no idea how they did it so good. Maybe I have those twisted. What you have to be careful about when you're putting it back together is this black wire likes to line it up with that hole. You got to be really careful it doesn't get pinched when you put it back on. Okay. So this guy with the little nub goes on the inside of it. Oops. And then this guy here. Okay. So I've always had problems with reclosing it usually. If you take your time, you could probably do a better job than mine. But that should be good enough. I'm just going to leave it like that. Not too worried about it. Alright. So out of the screws here, it's just this little guy here. The smallest one of them goes on this guy here. Great, I'll just confirm it works one more time. Alright, so if it's still humming or if the motor's getting really hot, something's really wrong with it. It should be totally quiet. And that's what happened to my other one. Alright, so that's perfect. Just save some money, like I said, on this guy. So it's good to go for another little bit, because it's probably going to happen again. And then this guy here, I already ripped apart. And I was going to show you in a video of me figuring out what was wrong with it, but it just took too long and I didn't want to make a really long video. So I'm just going to show you guys what I found out. So this one here, the button was actually moved. It's usually always on the same side too. It's usually always on this side, I believe, that gets messed up. This button was actually moved over and shorted out, so I'm not sure if that really matters, if it was actually on the other pin. And then there's a little voltage regulator right here, a 662K. It's a 3-volt regulator that went right here, and it was heating up really bad. So I removed it and tried another regulator, but I didn't have any 662s kicking around or 3-volt regulators. So I'm gonna have to order one just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure this this chip here, I have no idea what it is, but it's probably fried as well. So what I might do later on is just take off the chip off my good one and put it on this one, and just do component by component. The only one I won't be able to replace is this little guy here. Just, there's no way I can resolder this guy together without making a bridge, I think. Besides that, everything else can be switched kind of easily. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe, and that's it.